I think just the perspective is that like there's no work behind it. It just happens because you have cancer. And that's not the case. Can we just address this mane today? Like what? Almost 3 years in the making. A little chaotic, but I accept. I totally accept because it wasn't here a couple years ago. So, hi guys, I am Lauren Kramer. I am a breast cancer while pregnant survivor, and today I want to talk to you about the expectation versus reality. What changed in my life and about me after cancer versus what people expect to change for people who are diagnosed with cancer. I really wanted to touch on this topic because I feel like that there's so much expectation. There's just this clean-cut plan of what people are supposed to be like and feel and do after cancer. And I just don't agree with it. I don't think that's the case always. And for me, I've had a lot of things change, but I don't know if it's necessarily the way people think or expect. So I kind of wanted to touch base because if somebody is going through cancer, just diagnosed, they're on the hunt to figure out what is going to happen next. I kind of want to give, my whole channel is based off of getting people to understand how to deal with cancer, what to expect after cancer, and how to adapt. So that is what we're going to talk about today. So first, we want to talk about the expectation, right? So the expectation is a massive shift. It just seems like you are one person and then you're the next person right after you're diagnosed with cancer. You're face to face with your mortality, and people think you're just supposed to be this carefree, like live life to the fullest, no regrets, be with the people that you love, and it's just that. Like that's what it seems like. That's the expectation, is that you're supposed to learn this huge lesson from cancer and then that's it. It just seems so, from a non-cancer perspective, I think it seems so cliche and so straightforward. And the reality is that nothing is straightforward. Everybody is different. Just like you are an individual, so is your cancer journey. You are going to go through your own experiences, you're going to go through your own changes, and I just kind of want to lay out what changed for me so you can kind of gauge how different it is from the cliche expectation of life after cancer. So let's get right to it. Diagnosis of cancer. What happened immediately? So diagnosed with cancer and immediate shift of what is my life going to be? What is going to happen with my life? There was no immediate desire to change anything. I was worried about the next steps. What is treatment going to be like? How am I going to survive it? I was pregnant, so how is my daughter going to survive it? Am I going to be alive for my daughter? How am I going to keep her safe going through all of this? What is going to happen with me, my breasts, my hair? You're worried about the moments when you're first diagnosed with cancer and what life you have left. Going through treatment, really the only goal is to get through treatment. You're just powering through. At least I was just powering through, and I wanted to make it day by day. I wanted to just make sure that I was surviving. My goals while going through cancer simply was to get through treatment and then take it from there. Once treatment ended, I was left with this heaviness because you kind of, from these expectations of like, okay, now cancer's over or treatment's over. Now we could live our lives. Now we could just enjoy ourselves and do what we need to do to get back to where we kind of were. And that's not the case. We're never going to get back to where we were. We're never going to be mindless of cancer. So for me personally, because I had my child as well, I was just focused on the moments with her. The difference is that I was hit with this heaviness, right? Where it's like everything that I felt was that cancer coming back. How much time do I have with my children? Every time I looked at my children, I was hit with this massive sense of guilt that I was going to leave them too early. And it was a really big struggle going forward. And I even hit more walls when I was put in a chemical menopause and going through radiation. And all my goals were really for that like first 6 months post-treatment sort of was getting my mental state squared away. I did whatever I could do to not feel worried about cancer coming back, to feel at peace with whatever happens, and to feel physically better. So I took all the measures that I knew that would be toward healing, and that is I meditated, I went to acupuncture, I got outside, I exercised, I started to eat better. Eat better is, for me, started off with just making sure I had veggies on every single plate. And this was originally simply for my mental health, my holistic health, because I was feeling so low. I got a therapist on board. I just focused on staying mindful. I focused on peace, and I focused on health and in my family. And that was literally it. I had no great expectations of, now these are all the things that I need to achieve with my family and go places and travel and live life to the fullest and run marathons and etc. etc. Like that was not my goals. I was worried about health and peace, and that is it. Now we could say that was a change, right? Because prior to all of this, I considered myself a healthy person. I considered myself to take all the right measures to really feel like I was a healthy person. You know, I wasn't perfect. I thought I was balanced. I thought all these things. But once I finished treatment, I really dove deep into the healing process. So could that be the initial change? Sure. You know, I just really wanted to heal. And I knew that wasn't going to be an immediate thing, but I was dedicated to it. And honestly, that first year, that is all I focused on was health and peace, health and peace. Health and peace. That's all I wanted. I wanted to make sure I was doing everything I can to stay here for my children. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but it is. I had cancer, you know? And I wanted to do whatever I could. So I saw the lifestyle changes, nutrition, exercise, all of those things were in my control. So those are the things that I really kind of dove deep in and started making changes, because cancer takes all your control, right? You have no sense of control, because really we don't have control. But anyway, cancer takes that away. So addressing all these things, all the things that I could, made me feel like I had some control. And also there's data behind it. There's data behind exercise. There's data behind the things you eat and the way you live your life and de-stressing and all of these things. And while it doesn't mean that you'll never get cancer, but it gives you a sense of control, and it does support a healthy body, and that was my goal. So again, I would say the first change was the change of focusing on healing. The next change that I would really say happened was letting go. And I don't want to say that like I'm carefree. I don't want to say that, you know, I don't worry or, you know, have concerns about other people. A lot of people think that it's like you don't care what anybody else thinks, you're just going to do what you want, and it's that simple. You're not going to get mad anymore. You're not going to have these like crazy emotions because you just want to live. That's it, right? It's not that simple. But I think letting go is a better way to explain it, because there's just less you focus on after you deal with traumatic things, and especially when you come face to face with your mortality. Letting go for me was kind of just doing things that brought me peace, not worrying about saying no. I'm a homebody, so like I don't necessarily want to go travel, and I don't want to go do like thousands of different things for the experiences. I just want to enjoy time with my family and the people I love and feel good. And so letting go, I think, is a way to explain how I kind of just like tuned out some of the noise. Again, my life goals at the time were health and peace. They still are, they will always be. But at the time, that was literally my only goals. And I just want to kind of add a little asterisk to that, is that is a work in progress, because as you kind of escape cancer world and start living into survivorship world, things kind of get a little jumbled, because again, like I'm saying, all my goals were health and peace, and that's it. But I started to have more goals adding in there. I started a YouTube channel. I started my own business. I started going back to jiu-jitsu. I started to run and want to take things more seriously. I started to get more educated. I took some courses. I started to involve myself more in different things. As you start to rebuild and add things in there, it can get a little hairy as to how you're going to piece things together. So it's consistently a work in progress, and it's not just very clear cut as like, I'm letting go and nothing's gonna bother me ever again. That didn't work like that for me. I remember I went to the doctor and one of the PAs was like, you know, she had breast cancer, and she was like, I don't yell anymore after cancer. Like you'll see, like things change. And it was a very simple conversation, but from that I was like, oh my gosh, maybe things will happen easily and like things will change for the better like that. I will say things have changed for so much, like so many things for the better, but it was not like that. It still takes work, it still takes effort and thought and reflection, and it takes work. And I think that is the message that I really want to get out there, because you have to think about the things that you want in life, and then you have to work toward them, and you have to make effort in all different aspects of your life. And it's not just this flick of a switch. And I think that's one of the major misconceptions, is that you're expected to just flick this switch, be a different person, focus on the things that you want in life, and then that's it. But the reality is that everything that you want going forward, you're going to have to put the work in. There's no shortcuts. The things that you want after cancer, they could be as simple as things like I wanted, like health and peace, but it's worth reflecting on that and then acting toward it. Every choice that I made, I was like, how is this going to be healthy for me? How is this going to bring me peace? And that's kind of how I like weeded things out a little bit at first. The next way that I changed was giving myself a little bit more grace. I will say that I still, you know, I've been a people pleaser most of my life. I definitely have let go, again, back to the let go of worrying about what others really think. And it's not like this active thing where like, I'm just gonna do what I want because I don't care what other people think. It is more so just the idea of like, I'm just focused on me and my peace and my health. And if that affects somebody else, I'm sorry. But my thoughts aren't about anybody else when I'm doing the things that I want to do for me and my family. They're just about me and my family. And honestly, the only other people that I think about are you guys, are the people, you know, cancer patients, cancer survivors, and people that could benefit from the things that I could offer, right? You know, I want to offer my advice and my support to the cancer fam. I also want to offer my support and services to people who want to work on their health holistically and preventatively. Like, these are all things that are that I want, and if it bothers somebody, it's honestly the least of my concern. And that is probably one of the bigger changes, because I used to very much worry about upsetting people, or, you know, doing something that people could judge me for, I guess. But I know I'm like in my mid 30s, and I'm, you know, it took cancer diagnosis to really realize these things. But I think back then I wouldn't have even said that. It's lessons in hindsight. So I think another change too is like the reflection of hindsight. We see our life before cancer and after cancer. And we have this opportunity to see what our life was like with this different perspective, because like, you're just going through life, you're very close to it before cancer, and you're not really seeing the things that maybe you would see if you were on the outside. And cancer kind of allows you to be on the outside a little bit, because you have this like distinct line between the before and after, and you could look at the before and say like, okay, like I don't want that anymore, you know? But again, it all takes work. It's not just like the flick of the switch. It takes effort, it takes work and thought and intention. I'm gonna summarize this a little bit just to make the video a little less long, but the expectation and the things you see in the movies and the things you see kind of from an outside perspective is that like things just change like that. I don't want to say that things don't change at all, because they 1000% do. I think just the perspective is that like there's no work behind it. It just happens because you have cancer. And that's not the case. You have to have intention and thought and work and effort and all those things behind the change, just like anything else in life. It's just different because of this specific circumstance that you and I are experiencing or have experienced. It's a choice. Working toward the things you want is a choice, whether you have cancer or not. So if you're watching this, or if you are just starting out in your cancer journey, I just want you to know that if you feel like your life going through the treatment or even after treatment isn't what you expected, I want to remind you just to try to let go, because everybody's experience is very different, especially with cancer and life in general. But having an expectation is only going to do you a disservice. So focus on you, your loved ones, and what you guys need and want out of life. Ask yourself, is what I'm doing, is what I'm thinking, is how I'm acting serving those main things that I want in life? And go from there and let it snowball and do what you need to do to get to the place that you want to be. You are going to get through this in your own way, and that's okay. And even if it doesn't match the expectation of what maybe you had or other people have, that's okay. That is okay. And in fact, it's better, I think. But I'm going to leave it at that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, hit the like button if you like this video, and subscribe for more videos like this on my channel. And otherwise, I will see you in the next one.